This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi Glatstein. So, because of the change of schedule, we'll take the opportunity to change things up a little bit. Just want to speak out about the importance of the days of Sefiras HaOmer. What I'm going to speak out comes from the Sefer Usfartem Lachem. I'll tell you the truth, I had the Sefer for many years, and I didn't realize that the Sefer was written by Rav Daniel Parish, who is the author of the Maslik Midrash. Maslik Midrash is one of the classic commentaries on the Zohar. So he wrote a Sefer al Pi Ha'avoda of what is a person's focus and what should a person strive for during the Yemei HaSfira. So he brings down a few very important ideas. I'll speak out some of the ideas that are not as well known. First of all, there's a famous comment of the Chesed Avraham. Chesed Avraham was the grandfather of the Chida. And he speaks about the 30 days that precede Pesach, Shloshim Yom Kodem HaChag. And he brings some type of Kabbalistic idea that during those 30 days, the Ribbon Shalom takes, in each of those 30 days, he takes the neshama out of the Memtesh Shari Tumah. So somebody once asked me, there should be 49 days, because if they're Memtesh Shari Tumah, then you should need 49 days. But apparently every day, Ribbon Shalom takes out one and change. You know, so 30 days, 49 Shari Tumah. What? What's the math?
Like 1.5, 1.6?
Yeah, one and change. So, and he says the reason why the Rebbe Shalom does that is, he brings another Kabbalistic idea, is that if 400 consecutive days would pass without a person progressing in Ruchnias, they would be lost forever and ever. Some kind of tumah to the number 400. And what's very interesting is that we find in Chumash that the number 400 becomes a very dangerous number. The first time we encounter that is Ephraim. Ephraim wants how much money from Abraham for the Maras Machpelah? 400 shekel kesef over lasecher. The next time we find the poison, the danger of number 400, is Esav comes to attack Yaakov, ve'arba ish imai. So the number 400 is a very dangerous number. You could explain, and I once heard this, that the letter Tuf is the last letter of the Aleph Beis. The letter Tuf is 400. That's like the end. When you see 400, you know the end is coming. Okay, so 400 consecutive days would pass without progression in Ruchnias. The person would be cast away and lost forever. So the Rebbe Shalom B'Chastei Hagadol, he gives us these 30 days where we're automatically taken out of Shari Tumah, in order that we don't go 400 consecutive days without coming closer to Hashem. Well, there's a Sefer Arvei Nachal. The Arvei Nachal was written by Rav David Eibeshitz, no relation to Rabbi Yona's son. He wrote on Shulchan Aruch the Sefer Levushei Srad. Levushei Srad is a commentary on the Magen Avraham. And Rav David Eibeshitz, it's one of the Sifrei Chasidus, the Sefer Arvei Nachal, and he brings down that Sefiras HaOmer then also has this type of koyach. Well, if there are 50 days of Sefira, really the 51 days, the Torah was given on day 51, right? Moshe, Hosef Yom Echad Midaita, but they're 50 days. So 50 days, each day has the koyach of 8 days of Avodas Hashem, because each day then is able to counteract from the 400. So the 50 days of Sefira somehow are able to overcome or counteract the 400 days of Tumah. Okay. So he brings down here from Rav Shash, Rav Shalom Sharabi, that the days of Sefiras HaOmer are the shoresh for the entire year, and whatever direction you go during the Yemei Sefira, you'll continue in that path for the rest of the year. In other words, the Yemei Sefira actually set the tone for the entire year. In fact, the Sfas Emes brings down a Zohar HaKadosh, an amazing Zohar. That what? That somebody who's careful during the Yemei Sefira and Shavuos, he will not need to be judged on Rosh Hashanah. In other words, the Zohar HaKadosh says in Parshas Tetzaveh that all the Mekatrigim and all the accusers and all the angels that come to instigate against a person during the Yemei Hadin are only result of not taking advantage of Yemei HaSfira. But if a person is able to take advantage of Yemei HaSfira, they don't even stand in judgment on Rosh Hashanah. They get off the hook entirely. That's what the Sfas Emes brings down from the Zohar HaKadosh in Parshas Tetzaveh. On the other hand, there's a concept that the Yemei HaSfira are the most challenging days of the whole year. They are in Kabbalah what is called Machon de Katnos, as opposed to Machon de Gadlos, which means that a person has limited capacity in Ruchnias during the Yemei HaSfira, because the days are so important, and because they set the tone for the whole year, and because a person could escape the Yemei Hadin, therefore the challenges are much more severe. And therefore, if a person finds themselves further from Hashem, and a person finds it more difficult, don't be nervous, beware not. That's how it was instituted, that's the reality. And if a person is able to, despite the challenging times, try to overcome it, that's basically the idea of the Yemei HaSfira. So what should a person focus on during the Yemei HaSfira? What is the avodah of the Yemei HaSfira? Well, it's well known, the Arizal writes in the Sha'ar Kavanos, that during the 49 days of Sfira, one should be mechavein to correct the Zayin Sfiros. So we know there's 7 Sfiros. The question is, there are more than 7 Sfiros. There really, how many Sfiros are there?
10.
There are 10 Sfiros. After all, the Medrash Rabbah says that the Ribono Shel Olam created the world ba'asara ma'amoros with 10 statements, right? Ba'asara ma'amoros nivra ha'olam. It's a Gemara in, first of all, it's a Mishnah Perkei Avos, Parak Hey, Mishnah Aleph. It's also a Gemara where in Masechta Chagiga, and the Marsha, that Gemara says, even though Chazal do not reveal to us the deeper intention of what it means, Ba'asar Ma'amoros Nivra Olam, the deeper meaning is that everything in this world is a manifestation of God. And when we say God created the world with 10 statements, that means there are 10 manifestations. Now there are some early poskim will say that you don't talk about the Sefiras, you don't discuss the Sefiras. It's not something that an average person could comprehend, because what do you mean there are 10 manifestations of God? We say every day, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. What do you mean manifestations of God? God is one. Once you start breaking God up, or even manifestations of God, once you start dividing it, that may lead you to not believe in the Achdus of Hashem. So it's somewhat of a dangerous concept. It's not for the layman, but the Arizal sort of brought it to everybody. And the tefillah that is said by some people at the end of Sefiras HaOmer, that every day you're mechamed to misaking a certain sfira, which by the way they don't say in the yeshivas. And if you daven nusach Ashkenaz, it may not be part of your nusach. But the Shem Yichud they don't say. They don't say Harachman. They just say Harachman. Harachman is brought down by Tosfos. All the other tefillos are not said. There are a lot of questions about them. For example, I don't say L'Shem Yichud. Noda B'Yehuda says not to say it. And
For anything.
For anything.
No, in a nice way.
In a nice way, he says not to say it. But there's another question: how could he say Hineni Mucham Mitzvah mitzvah asay? Sefiras HaOmer is not a mitzvah asay; it's a mitzvah d'Rabbanan. So stam it's not even true. And Rav Sternbach said maybe it's Baal Tosef if you say mitzvah asay. I just say the following, and I only say it because the tzibur, the tzibur is saying it. So I say Hineni Muchan Umazuman L'Kayim Mitzvah Sefiras HaOmer. That's what I say. That's what can I tell you? I try to follow the poskim, but the nusach svar based on the Rizal and is to say a tefillah at the end that you're bringing masakein one of the sfiros. So let's just explain very briefly. If there are 10 sfiros, then why do we only talk about 7 of them? So we know besides what are the sfiros? The sfiros that we discuss are Chesed, Gevura, Sefiras, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchus, which emanate from the pasuk we say every morning in davening, L'cha Hashem HaGedula. What's Gedula? If you listen to the Shabbos Haggadah Drasha, then you would know, what does Gadol mean? Chesed. So L'cha Hashem HaGedula. Gedula is Chesed. The Hagvura is Midas Hagvura. The Sefiras, Midas Sefiras. The HaNetzach is Midas Netzach. The Hod, Kichav Hashmayim Va'aretz is Yesod. L'cha Hashem HaMamlacha is Malchus. The question is, what happened to the first 3 Sefiros? What are the first 3 Sefiros? Anybody know? What are the first 3 Sefiros?
I was not here this morning. So, is it like according to the worlds? Right?
You should know this. What are the first 3 Sefiros? Chachma, Bina, and Das. Rashi Tevos.
How about
Chachma, Bina, and Das are the first 3 Sefiros. So why don't we talk about them? Because those 3 Sefiros are called the Moichen. They're like the porthole they're the channels to reach the 7 Sefiras. So primarily the 7 Sefiras are Chesed, Gvura, Sefiras, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus. And these are different manifestations of the Midos of Hashem. However, on a deeper level, the Arizal is Megala that within the 7 Sefiros, all 7 Sefiros exist. So within Chesed, there's Chesed, Gevura, Teferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus. Within Gevura, there's Chesed, Gevura, Teferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus. Within Teferes are all 7. So you have a total of 49. And on each day, you're trying to be Masakein these 7 manifestations to the whole world. Now the question is, that is raised in the Sefer Shem and Sasain, that why Dafka during these 49 days do we try to be Masakein it? I mean, l'chayra, this is something that is true the entire year. What connection does it have to Sefiras HaOmer?
How do you masaking it also?
Okay, so we'll talk about that in a sec. And basically he says that through these 49 days, which set the tone for the whole year, this is what gives us the ability to be masaking these Sefiros for the whole year. Okay. So what exactly are we being masaking? I just want to add one nakuda. This is a very yediyah chashuva. And that is, these 7 Sefiros, which are the 7 manifestations of God, everything in this world is a concretization of one of these 7 Sefiros. So, for example, the Arizal is Megala to us that Eish is a manifestation of Midas HaGvura. When you see the might of fire, that's a manifestation of Midas HaGvura. But then the Arizal is Megala further that Eish has different colors. So if you look at the white color in the fire, then the white is Midas HaChesed. So that's Chesed Shebe Gevura. It's not Midas HaChesed, because the fire is Gevura, but it's the Chesed in the Gevura, and so on and so forth. And all the Sifrei Kabbalah are oived to try to be Megala, the various kinuyim, the various nicknames of what is considered a midah within a midah, and so on and so forth. We know the 7 parts of the body correspond to the seven Sefiros. But B'yikr, the question is, what exactly are we doing? What do we need to be masaking? The answer is, for us on our level, we have absolutely no idea what we're doing or what we're talking about when we're trying to meyached these Sefiros, and therefore, for the most part, it's not for us. So, I want to just conclude with what the Minchas Elazar writes in 2 places, exactly what is the avodah of Sefiras HaOmer. He says like this. He says, Ki af al pi, this he writes in the Shar Yisaschar, Ma'amari Chodesh Nisan, Maimer Omer Atnufa Oisvav. He says, Ki af al pi, Sheve Pshitos, Mitzvah Sefiras HaOmer, Hi Mitzvah Shetluya B'Kavanos V'Yichudim. On the simple level, the mitzvah of Sefira is dependent on various kavanos and unifications of Hashem. In Kamakim says the Minchas Elazar, Kivan Shahayichudim V'Shemois U'Sfiros Lav Kol Moicha Savalda. Most brains cannot be soivel this, meaning we don't understand what this means. B'Prat Lahamoinam B'nei Yisrael, especially to the common folk, Lachein Hishmianu. Therefore, what we need to learn is Shabein Lami Shabbat B'Sayid Hashem. Whether you're a great Kabbalist, Uvein L'Pshuteyam, or you're just a simple Jew like us, the Iker is not to be miyached the Yichudim, because this is beyond us. The Iker is to be mesakein one's midas during the Yemei Sefira. In other words, the Yichudim is sort of the higher level, but on the basic elementary level, the fundamental principle of the Yemei Sefira is to be mesakein a person's midas, like it says in the Pri Etz Chaim, and therefore be mechavein, try to be mechavein during the 49 days of Sefira, to be mesakein one's midas, midas hachesed. So midas hachesed is easy to identify. Everybody knows what chesed is. Gevura is not so simple. Gevura is when somebody does something wrong, to be able to have the courage and the bravery to respond with strength and not to be a coward. That doesn't mean you should clobber the guy over the head, but it requires a certain inner strength to, on the one hand, do the right thing yourself, and on the other hand, to have positive influence, and not to sort of, there's so many things that people write off. Oh, everyone's doing it, so whatever. No, not whatever. Why can't you be strong? Well, when it comes to making money, people say, most people make $100,000, so I'll also make it. I don't have to make more. I'll just be like everybody else. You don't do that when it comes to the physical world. So when it comes to the spiritual world, why would a person write off, this is how people dress, this is how women dress. Okay, it's okay. It's okay if in my family they dress that way. What do you mean? You have to follow the halacha. Yeah, but whatever. No, not whatever. Gevura. That's a midas ha-gevura. You have to be able to identify what these midas are. How does Yisoid refers to Kedusha. How does Malchus apply to a person? But the Minchas Elazar is saying that the avodah of the Mehasfira is to work on one's own midas. By the way, a good technique would be to take a look at the Sefer Tomer Devara. They have it in English. Tomer Devara talks about the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim and then how it translates to one's own midas. But the Mehasfira is dedicated to avodas hamidas. And then he writes one more time. He says, Ki yesh bein hachoshvim atzmam lemekubalim v'chasidim gedolim. There are some people that consider themselves mekubalim and very righteous. V'hem misparim u'miskarim ba'atzmam, and they sort of take a lot of pride in their great kavanas during Sefiras HaOmer. However, v'yichashvu b'nafsham b'tas, says the Minchas, they're making a big mistake. Ki kvar tiknu zivugei hamidos v'hazayin malchin al yidei kavanas Sefiras HaOmer b'chalayla. He says that's not a big deal that they're masaking the various midos. It says it in the siddur, so you say chesed shegvur and you did it. That's not the big. That's not the groisa gadil of sfira. The main avodah of sfira achein hazayin midos shetzrichen lasakein benafshoy. These are the 7 midos that you have to be masaking in your own nefesh, like the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov point out. So chesed, he says, is someone who's mischasedem koinai, someone who goes beyond the letter of the law with their creator, or to do chesed to other people, midas kavuras, to be miskaber over your yetzer. And here's the final word. And let's say if you just came to hear this, it was kedai. If a person does not want to and doesn't try to rectify his midos, then all of his kavanos are really not going to help. So it's a time to try to work on one's midas hanefesh. As the Vilna Gaon says, if a person doesn't work to be meshaber his midas, lama lichayim. That's one of the great purposes of life. So we should have to be zoicha to utilize these days to perfect our midas. So we should be zoicha that on Shavuos, what's the midah of Shavuos? Midas hakeser. As we know, how many oisios are in the Aser Sadibros? Keser, 620 oisios. Should have to be zoicha to be mesakein all of our midas. Shkoyach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.